chose instead to grow this movement by giving everyone the opportunity to benefit from their contribution to the movement. Just like being able to mine Bitcoin in 2008 or 2009, getting early access to mining the Gaju Maru now allows you to mine the greatest number of Gajus and benefit most from being part of this movement. We want to share that with you. We want the whole world to be part of this. We want everyone who cares about our future to get on board and take this from a movement to a reality. We want to see an economy for the people, by the people, now. Join us. Put your fingerprints on humanity's story, our history. Be a leader in the economic emancipation of humanity. It's simple. Go to gajumining.com, select the mining package that's right for you, and get started today.
All right, guys, welcome to the latest episode of Blood Money. Today we have hell of a story for you guys. I'm sure you've heard about all this controversy of Tim Pool and Candace Owens going at it. A lot of emotion, a lot of crazy temperaments out there right now. It's definitely pretty ugly on social media. And today I have Craig here, who is known for a number of things. You know, he's one of the first movers in the cannabis world. He was on the show Weeds, and he's kind of become known as a serial entrepreneur. So, Craig, how you doing, sir?
Excellent. Thank you for asking. Happy to be here, and just busy working on my new project, Yo Mama. So should be fun.
Awesome. So, you know, before we dive into the whole controversy with Tim Pool, tell us a little bit, tell the viewers a little bit about your history, who you are, what are you notorious for? I noticed that you're kind of banned on a lot of social media, you know, sites. Tell me, you know, who you are, what you do, brother.
I'm just an individual with a lot of independent thoughts, probably a revolutionary thinker. So I've been banned. I've run for city council in Beverly Hills, the mayor of Los Angeles in 2009. I've been on the TV show Weeds, on another TV show, 15 cannabis films. And I used to have a Wikipedia page, but they even took my Wikipedia page down. So I have been banned from a lot of social media, try and get friends to help me connect in that way sometimes. So I feel like I have some voice to get out there and say things to the world, but occasionally I'm asked to be a guest like you on a podcast because you had some inside information about me and Tim Pool from the past. And it seems to be relevant now, so I'm glad to be here and share that experience.
Yeah. So I remember, you know, I'll kind of give the viewer a little bit of background on this. You know, this whole Tim Pool thing went down with him, I guess, you know, berating Candace or, you know, calling her a C word or a B word or whatever, having to do with, I guess, somebody shot a gun at his office or something like that, right? So I recalled when you and I connected because, you know, just to give you guys a little bit of history, you know, Craig and I were talking about one of his projects in terms of me doing media for him. And then this whole crazy third assassin hoax thing went down. And when that went down, I was trying to make it my goal to go on a whole bunch of podcasts and correct the record because, you know, overnight, over the course of 24, 48 hours, it's like I was made into something that I'm not. And it's not like those companies, you know, when Fox blasts you or ABC or BBC or whatever, when they blast you as an assassin, it's not like they go back and they're like, all right, let's give the same amount of time that we gave to destroying this guy's name and reputation to fixing it and saying that we did a mistake. They almost just kind of like have it go away, right? And one of my great annoyances with this whole third assassin situation is there was some people that didn't allow me the mic to correct the record. And one of those people was Tim Pool. And I recall telling Craig that, man, like this Tim Pool guy promised me, you know, he made me to be a bit of an idiot. He said that he recognizes I was no assassin, but he made me to be a bit of an idiot by assuming a bunch of things that weren't true. Like flat out, like made a bunch of assumptions, you know, and said a whole lot of things that were kind of nasty and weird. And so I was like, when I saw him, I was like, Tim, dude, let me just correct the record. He promised me that he would allow that, and he never returned my texts, my phone calls, and eventually I was just like, dude, I'm not even gonna keep calling this guy because he's just like reneging on his promise, right?
We should just give out his personal cell number right here, right now.
I don't want to dox him, but I was annoyed at him. And then I recall with you about, I guess how he tried to, what did he try to do? I mean, you tell me the whole story about what happened.
What tried? I was a duly certified candidate running for Congress in West Virginia, and he lived in my district. So I went to his place to, I was trying to get on the ballot without paying the $1,700. I wanted to have enough signatures. So I thought, hey, if I could get on this guy's show, I'll leave my name and number. Maybe he'll have me as a guest and I'll make the deadline. So it was in January of 2022. And the election was in November of 2022 for Congress. That I went there, knocked on the door, was invited in. They filmed it, tried to make a big deal out of it, saying I broke in. I corrected the record, and when I corrected the record, they decided to have me arrested. And I found out today, and two of the things that Tim Pool said is he consulted his friends in the 3-letter agencies about me, and he said this was a serious, serious felony, having a congressional candidate show up at your house to politic during an election season. And so I needed to be locked away in a cage for several years. I was going to be locked away in a cage for several years, and my children should be taken from me. So I've been.
I mean, is that stuff available? Could we like share that on screen?
There's a link. I think if you go to dude, someone broke into my house and put Craig X and/or Tim Pool, I think it pops up. But the guy whines and cries about someone breaking in and shooting at him every couple months for his own clout. That it might be difficult to find. That's one we put up on one of our Temple 420 websites, and one of our fans had made that for me and sent it to me. So it's a little repetitive, but it really shows how foolish Tim Pool is.
Wait, I gotta find this, man. I'm actually looking for this right now. Hang on. I'm gonna share this real quick for the viewer. Do you mind if I just share this and we watch it and then we'll...
Not at all. It's a little repetitive, but we can go through it slowly or you can speed through it, whatever. But it really shows me going into their house, how they used it. And it's one of their most popular videos they have of Tim Pool being attacked by me. And then he charged me with burglary. So my friend took some of the videos that they had kept talking about me and put it out there.
Dude, someone broke into my house. So I hope you all understand. And I hope you never experience stuff like this. I'll leave it there. I live in West Virginia. These people are scumbags. The production studio is in Maryland. And that's our fault. That is our fault it happened. I fully accept that. Now the guy's going to go to prison. I don't think we've gone a day without facing some kind of attack against us. James O'Keefe called you a powerful individual. Someone who breaks onto the property can be...
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Okay, so I started watching Tim Pool. I was never a Tim Pool fan, but he tugs at his shirt all the time when he's lying or exaggerating. So if you notice, he goes, we've been under attack. We've been under attack. And he still does it to this day. I haven't watched him recently, but he gets just as mad as me as he does at Candace Owens in this recent tirade. And he does the same thing. He's tugging at his shirt.
Let's see that. I got to see that. I'm going to play that again one time so we can take a... That's an interesting thing you spotted. One sec.
Like it's some kind of poker tell.
Dude, someone broke into my house. So I hope you all understand. And I hope you never experience stuff like this. I'll leave it there. I live in West Virginia. These people are scumbags. The production studio is in Maryland. And that's our fault. That is our fault it happened. I fully accept that. Now the guy's going to go to prison. I don't think we've gone a day without facing some kind of attack against us. James O'Keefe called me a powerful individual. Someone who breaks onto the property can be killed. Guess what? Now the guy's going to go to prison. He already talked to the case. It's a fellow. Well, guess what? Now the guy's going to go to prison.
I'm Craig X, and you are at the Bodhi Sativa Caregivers Club. How can we care for you?
I'm kind of new at this.
Virgin, don't worry. I'll be gentle on you. Come on this way.
We already talked to the police. It's a felony. It's a very serious...
That's because you're in that show Weeds. That's what we're seeing over there.
Yeah, so my friend clipped that in. He was trying to make it like, because Tim's saying, oh, he came there to become famous. And I'm like, bro, I'm at 15 weed movies. I'm on the TV show Weeds. Snoop Dogg and I are the only ones on the show to play our own selves. And so,
I mean, you're just running as a candidate, and you go to his place basically to tell him about your candidacy, more or less. Like, you're
leave
clearly
my number, all my information, and I knock on the door. I'm invited in, and the guy, like I said, he recorded the whole thing and then never turned in, kind of like what happened with his brother in this recent shooting. They refused to turn in the footage to the police because he says, a congressional candidate knocking on his door and being invited in is a serious threat.
I mean, honestly, it's like, was there any, I mean, obviously you didn't threaten him, you didn't try to steal anything, so I mean, why would he even want to cause you harm like that, to put you in jail for like 2 years, unless you tried to stab him or something? Like, what you do?
He went on Candace Owens' show after this to talk about how he was under attack, which is coincidental, and on that show, he said, well, we had to prosecute this one guy to show that we're really under attack. And he says it, I think, in this video. He also says it here, too. He goes, if we don't prosecute, then people won't believe that we're really under attack.
And you're not like a lefty, you're not like a trans person, you're not like, I mean, you don't hate Tim Pool. I mean, tell me everything, because everybody's going to research and they're going to try to find out anyway. So tell me everything. Do you hate Tim Pool or?
No. So I've been in 2 movies with Joe Rogan, How Weed Won the West and American Drug War. I've been in 1 film with Alex Jones, who I think was the narrator of How Weed Won the West. Was a documentary about cannabis. And so I see him doing some podcast with Alex Jones and Joe Rogan. I'm like, all right, this Tim Pool guy must be okay. He knows these guys that I tangentially know and worked with. I've been a guest on Alex Jones' show before. And Joe Rogan came the very first time I was preaching at Temple 420. Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo, and Kevin Booth, the producer of the movie, all came to hear me preach. So I think, okay, this Tim Pool guy must be okay. I look up his address. He lives in my district, and I'm a MAGA candidate. I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I figured, all right, this is probably a good guy. He'll be supportive. He's even talking about providing a platform for different congressional candidates so that people can get to know him. Like, once somebody told me about him, I watched a couple episodes of his show. So I feel like, okay, I'm kind of aligned with this guy. We know some people in common. I was just about to launch a new business with Joey Diaz, who also had a podcast. I was putting out a thing called the Diaz List, which was the digital asset list, and using Joey Diaz to help me market it. And then I had an app on the website at the time called Sling Snap, which was like a free speech app, and this is back in 2020. So I figured, okay, I got some interesting forward thinking. I'm working as a driver in long distance hauling. So I drive over to his place, leave my name and number. They give me a bottle of water as I'm leaving. All of this is in the video, and I didn't film it. They filmed it. And then they put it out and said I broke into their place. And then when I explained, no, I didn't break in. These guys are liars. They're trying to, make stuff controversial. I said I came. I left my name and number, as you can see in this video. They told me I had to take my video down or they were going to prosecute me. And when I refused, and I don't know if you can find that video on there still where I just explained what happened. 4 days later, they call the cops on me and they have me arrested for felony burglary, for knocking on their door and politicking at their house.
Burglary, like you didn't take anything?
No, didn't take anything, but they couldn't get me for trespassing because I didn't trespass, so they charged me with burglary.
I mean, that's just like a shitty thing to do, but let me keep playing this. I want to keep watching the rest of it.
Well, we operate under the guidelines of Health and Safety Code 11362.5. Douglas, que onda, huevos?
I just couldn't stay away.
It's the beauty of this place. You don't have to, man. Welcome back.
I love it here so much.
He's suffering from depression.
Some guy breaks into the property. The cops were like, it's burglary. It's a felon. A guy broke into the house. These people are scumbags.
He called you scumbag? That was him talking about?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about me. The more you watch it, the more it gets put into context. But it's funny. He takes these little clips and then he expands them so you see how ridiculous this guy is being. And like I said, keep watching as he tugs at his shirt with one hand or two hands. And he does the same.
And this is, sorry to interrupt you, this is already so over the top. Like, man, I mean, unless you were there with the intent of doing something crazy, which it doesn't sound like this kind of dramatics of like these people, like I almost feel like he's talking about a trans person that tried to stab him or something.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And like I said, his own brother shot up his house and he refused to prosecute him in 2022. That's what Candace Owens came out and said. She goes, I know. She said that today or in the last few days. I just saw that on Twitter. She's like, your own brother shot up your house and you didn't prosecute him. And this is like, we've got to teach these people a lesson.
I mean, you know why this is so repulsive to me, man, is because I had a sheriff that lied about everything and tried to paint a picture and like, you know, oh, he had a car in disarray, made it sound like I drove up with a hoopty, fake IDs, passports. I'm in a 2024 car and this occurred in 2024. Okay, brand new. I have a car wash receipt from the day before. I spent $31. Chad Bianco practically called me a terrorist with literally not a shred of evidence, so he could make himself look so grandiose, right? And I'm looking at little Timmy over here with his beanie going like these dramatics. And I'm just like, I'm seeing flashbacks of him calling Candace a C-U-N-T. And by the way, I don't have to believe a word of what Candace is saying to criticize a little man that belittles a woman in that way. You know what I mean? In that sense of publicly and the way, you know, he's talking down to her and again, trying to like raise up the threat of what she is. Look, she's a journalist. Like he starts accusing her of, you're going to make us lose the midterms. And I mean, just really dumb things that anybody that's following politics knows that that's not the reason why the midterms would.
Well, she had the greatest comeback saying, look, this is what happens when men have too much estrogen.
It appears he snuck on as they were entering, confusing our staff and our security.
So that's a lie, right? You didn't sneak on. You just tried.
I didn't sneak on anywhere. I think I told you this when we did the radio podcast. I initially looked him up. He lives in my district in West Virginia. So I said, okay, well, it's not too late. It was winter time. It was early January, mid-January. The sun had gone down fairly early. So I show up thinking he does his podcast at his house. And his house, you know, I found it online, people in my district. And so I go, no, they can't be doing this. And it was all dark. I said, I just didn't want to knock on the door. I said, all right, maybe I'll come back tomorrow. But then I thought to myself, well, maybe they do it in a studio, like right around here, rather than in his actual house. Why would he want all these people coming to his house? So I put Timcast production studio into Google Maps and it says 15 minutes away. And I knew his show was starting, so I imagined he had reception or whatever, because I had seen him in the days before say, this is an office, you know, this is a house, but I don't just live in this mansion. This is a workhouse where we work out of, blah, blah, blah. There's a receptionist. So I was like, cool, there's probably security, reception. So I show up there, and coincidentally, as I'm cruising down the road, I end up right behind these two limousines, which are just black SUVs with darked out windows, carrying Andy No, James O'Keefe. So they stop, and I have to stop on the highway right behind them, and I notice, oh, here's the address that GPS is taking me to. So they go right up the driveway, and so I just follow him up the driveway, having arrived at the same time. One point, he's like, he laid and waited for them to come in so he could sneak in. And like I said, I had gone to his house originally and just drove 15 minutes away to the studio and just happened to show up right when these guys were showing up. But I didn't sneak on with them or anything. And I had my two kids with me sleeping in the car in their car seats, one of them. And so I waited outside.
Right. At best, this is like him, you know, just kind of like a misunderstanding. You screwed up. You went to his house. Like, you weren't obviously there with two children in the car trying to be malicious. Obviously, it sounds like.
No, I was a duly certified candidate for Congress. So I just went there to leave my name and number. And not only that, we have friends in common. So I did reach out to some people that actually knew him and said, hey, could you act as an intermediary? They reached out to him, to his girlfriend, and just no response. They kind of blew off these people that they, you know, well-known people that they know as well. They were just like, whatever. We don't want anything to do with this. We're having this guy arrested. It makes us look good. We set a date for trial. They told me if I would apologize, make a public apology and something else, that they would drop the charges. And I was like, oh, hell no. You guys have done nothing but lie. I've told the truth the whole time. I'm like, let's go to court, show your videos. And they gave us nothing in discovery and dropped all charges the day of the trial.
Man, it's very upsetting, dude. I mean, I don't know what's up with this. Like, it's like I don't see a difference between like what Tim did to you or what Chad Bianco did to me. It's like they will do anything for clicks. That's all it is. They will do anything for publicity. They will destroy. And no wonder this prick never allowed me to correct my narrative. After he spent the whole episode, with his zillion assumptions, he just made up stuff.
Jeremy at the quartering repeated all of his lies and then actually did more research than Tim, and Googled me and started putting highlights of me from some of the films, TVs, magazine, pictures of my kids and stuff. So still bad-mouthing me and saying everything Tim Pool said was true and correct and that I had done all this stuff. And so you'll see he goes from being allegedly to like, no, he broke in, he did this. So he totally slandered me as well. It is what it is. We live in that kind of world where people will take the risk of harming people they feel are below them to promote themselves, make themselves look more visible, bigger, important. Like you said, get those clicks and get their name out there.
Here, I'm going to play a little bit more of this, but then after we're done, I want you to tell me a little bit about the repercussions of how Tim's exaggerations and lies affected your life. One sec here.
That's our fault. That is our fault it happened. I fully accept that. After we are being attacked and our lives are being threatened, this guy said, I want to be famous.
Welcome. I'm Craig X.
And he walks up to our front door right after the guest said, come in, when we were greeting everybody, making sure everyone was taken care of. And that's our fault. That is our fault it happened. I fully accept that.
Because I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd District in West Virginia. Well, I wave to this guy. If you just sit up. Can I just leave you guys my name and number? Okay, thanks so much. And if you're going to put that on, go to craigx.com.
The guy's going to go to prison.
And 15 weed films. And I'm just a working class scholar. I drove 7 hours to. What's your name? It's nice to meet you. No, I'm running in West Virginia. In your district. In district. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. You guys have a good evening.
People are scumbags. People are scumbags. I don't like prison systems. I don't like locking people up. I get it. This guy was a fan. I have no choice. We've already talked to the police. We already talked to the police. It's a felony. It's a very serious felony. The guy breaks into the property. The cops were like, it's burglary. It's a felony. The production studio is in Maryland. I live in West Virginia. Illegally. I know I said it.
I'm running in West Virginia, in your district, in Tim's district. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd District in West Virginia.
A guy broke into the house. Now, let's address this. Some people may have seen it. He's lying. He's trying to claim that he was let in, and it's all just lies because these people are scumbags. Scumbags, man. So we have this guy enter the property illegally. I know I said it. We already talked to the police. It's a felony. It's a very serious felony. This guy's likely going to go to prison.
So
he admitted everything.
The rest of it repeats. It's the same information generally, or?
I think there's a little new, fresh information at the end, but for the most part, it repeats, and it just talks about Tim. I mean, you can basically see they invited me in. They gave me water. I left my name and number. I clearly wasn't a burglar. And they made a whole video out of it about stranger breaks into the property and had, like I said, had me arrested. I had to sell my house just to cover the legal bills. I got in a custody battle over my kids for it because I'm now facing prison time. And I was facing, I think, 5 to 7 years or 4 to 7 years of prison time for knocking on the door, being invited in, leaving my name and number, my website, them giving me water. So it wasn't like they perceived any threat whatsoever then. The only threat was to their credibility. And I thought about suing, but I thought how corrupt the court system is to even accept that as a felony. And would justice be served, or should I just trust God? Isaiah 51, I think, says, Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. So I do believe in God. I believe in the Bible. So I just put it in his hands so far. And I think that the credibility, when he started coming out and saying those horrible things about Candace, I was just like, oh, this guy's credibility is shot. You know, he's already such a bad guy. And now to be attacking Candace, she's concerned about one of her best friends being murdered and the murderer walking free. And he cares about, the midterms. You know, it's more important.
You know what it is? This guy is a Chad Bianco, because he did it. I saw him do it to you. I saw him do it to me. And dude, if you're going to go talk shit about a man for 20 minutes and say a bunch of shit that you're assuming, no receipts, this is not what journalists do. And then to not give that person 20 minutes to be like, you know what, Tim, sorry, bro, you got it a little bit wrong. Like saying shit like, he made it seem like what an idiot. He would walk into a Trump rally with guns, like this image of essentially what Chad Bianco had painted, which is this kind of like Unabomber redneck living in a shack with his hoopty disheveled, the car in disarray, right? Fake IDs, fake passports. So it's like I got this big beard, pop belly, total redneck, chewing tobacco in my mouth, whatever it is that he conjured up, and he walks into a Trump rally, and I get it, man, like, you love your way, but that's like, you shouldn't walk into the Trump rally. So the image is this big redneck guy with a machine gun being like, nah, 2-way, I'm still coming into the Trump rally, which is like, nothing close to how it went down. It wasn't even involving a Trump rally. That's what's crazy about it, is all these assumptions were like, oh, this crazy dude, like, 2-8.
The third assassin was all over the press with your name. You were called the third assassin.
And you would think, if you're a real patriot, you look up that dude. Okay, by the way, let me tell you what happened yesterday. President Trump announces my investigation on his Twitter, okay? He announces my election ballot fraud investigation in California. Literally uses words from my expose. And the reason why I know he's talking about me is because one of his closest confidants texted me today, and he said 100% what President Trump talked about yesterday, which is that California is trafficking ballots and there's truckloads of evidence out there, is my investigation, right? Which I was doing 3 days before I got called the third assassin, okay? You would think that just on principle, the patriot that's out there chasing freaking semis to stop this election corruption is somebody that you should actually take a good look into and be like, wait a minute, what's this guy about? This crazy sheriff's calling him an assassin. Turned out not to be true. What's the real story? That's what a journalist would do, right? Dude, the way he kind of punted this and didn't want to have anything to do with it, right? And then I started noticing a pattern in practice, which is that there's these paid influencers. And by the way, I'm like, I don't even talk about Israel, but everybody's been talking about how there's these people that get paid $7,000 per posting to good things about Israel. Well, I noticed it's the exact
or to
same
say bad things about Tucker and Candace.
Whatever. And it's like, I noticed those exact same group of individuals, and I'm not saying that they're coming after me because I don't even have Israel on my radar. It's not like I post badly about Israel. I'm way too busy with a gazillion actual investigations and things that I'm doing. And so I don't waste time with like like if I was in like Israel, Gaza, whatever, investigating, yeah, I'd talk about it. But I got other stuff like this election ballot fraud situation that I've been investigating for like 14 months now, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that if you're a real patriot, you're a real like MAGA or whatever he professes to be, bandwagon that he hopped onto, because I remember in 2021, he was berating people for not getting the COVID vax and for not wearing masks and stuff. So whatever the flavor of the day is, so now he feels like he's part of that MAGA tribe, whatever, then you know what, man, if a guy's out there risking his well-being to uncover ballot fraud, and by the way, now we know it's significant enough as of yesterday, December 14, and by the way, this is probably going to play later in the month, but December 14, President Trump comes out and says there's been truckloads of ballots. One of his closest associates confirmed. She's talking about my investigation. Well, dude, you're dropping the ball as a so-called journalist. Like, you see what I'm trying to get at? Like, this is like
you're dropping the ball. But even every other journalist who initially called you that third assassin,
This isn't the time to be National Enquirer when, like, literally our country's about to be eaten up by whatever is eating up the UK and Canada. You know what I mean? That sort of tyranny. If we had got Kamala, we'd already be there. That's a scary thought that we're one election away from basically becoming slaves in this so-called free country, like the way they're treating people in the UK. So there's like your serious shit that real journalists have to cover. And I don't know, dude. It's really, to me, this is so fucked up that, like, you as a patriot, you go out there, you want to run for office, you want to, you're like, oh, things are messed up, and this dude like makes you lose your house, almost lose custody of your kids, which, by the way, exact same thing happened to me with the Chad Bianca third assassin hoax. I went through a messy divorce, and my ex, perfect, once your ex is called a third assassin, and by the way, my kids are in the United Kingdom, so even gun owners, they look at like crazy people. Once they're called a third assassin, she had all the weapon in her hand to be like, well, you ain't gonna talk to your kids until they're adults anymore. So I feel your pain. I mean, I feel your pain because false accusations, like these false accusations, have cost me ungodly amounts of money. It also costs you ungodly amounts of money. You seem to have lost your house. I could tell you that I lost property for sure because of these ongoing costs. It's fucked up, man. Sorry. I mean, I know I'm ranting. I just feel your pain, dude. It's so fucked up that he did that to you.
what's wrong, sweetheart? Yeah. Right? I'm doing a podcast here. Remember to say hi real quick. This is my daughter, Julie Roberts.
How you doing? How are you?
Did you get your shoe on? You got to dance in front of the whole town, and everyone's no way. All right, don't cry. Don't make some. Yes, or that's it. And they finish your whole street.
Wow, dude. Is that the daughter? Is that the daughter you almost lost custody of because of Tim Pool?
Yeah, and the daughter, her and her brother have been with me for 2 years now. So for 8 months they were with their mom, but their mom was unfortunately not treating them properly. So they ran away, came to me, and their mom called the police, and she didn't have custody. So we had to go. We've been in court still for 3 years. We have social workers checking on us. It's been crazy, but thank God the kids are doing well in school. They're happy and with me. So
that kind of rift that you had for 8 months was because of Tim Pool.
She thought because I was facing a felony, she could just steal the kids and get money from me and have the kids. And so I didn't fight or try and get them back for those 8 months. She went and filed in court to get permanent custody, but they didn't give it to her right away. The kids ran away. They got to be with me. They've been with me for 2 years now. So it takes 3 years. I mean, it's so ridiculous. The kids are old enough to decide they wanted to be with me. And I wanted to spend time with their mother, but she can only see him now under court supervision. So
Wow.
yeah, she was not treating them well, and they shared that with the court. And the fact that she told the kids to lie about me in court, the court didn't appreciate that. So fortunately, I guess men have more rights these days than they did in the past. And I think that it's important when the kids are young that they have their father in their life. And she was trying to keep him out of my life. And I still, even though I think she's crazy, I'm sure most men think their exes are crazy, I still want them to have a relationship with her because she is the mother. So I was very fortunate. My parents split. Your parents are still together. It's so nice to see. But my parents split up and remained good friends. And I feel very fortunate that when we're all in town together, they still all come together and spend time with the kids and their kids. So I was hoping to have a more amicable separation, but it didn't work out that way. And it was partly made worse by the fact that I was facing years in prison that she thought she could get away with just taking them without a court order.
So regarding Mr. Poole, is there anything that we haven't talked about that's worth mentioning?
Well, I think one of the things we discussed on the radio one that I guess you did for X was, is Tim Poole a Fed? And my feeling is that there is a high probability a high possibility that he's a federal asset, not necessarily a federal agent, but because of the timing, the places that he's shown up, and the way he's acted so exaggeratingly victimish in these situations to get himself more publicity and to potentially harm the people he was attacking, being myself, you, Candace Owens, and kind of, is that an act of someone who works as a federal asset? And I think one of the things that we talked about on the X program was the perfect timing of him in Ukraine to get the coverage that really bolstered his career, and the fact that he seems to be pushed in the algorithm at some level because he's controllable and malleable. And so my supposition, my best guess is that he does have some kind of celebrity handler, some news handler that keeps him in line and keeps him doing something that would be pleasing to the establishment rather than.
Yeah, look, I have no doubt. I have no doubt on that level, because let me tell you, when we're going through kind of the dark ages of censorship after January 6th, when they shut down all of our accounts, right? You know, I watched Tim Pool survive a lot of things that most podcasters did not survive. And I bet you anybody that looks at those old episodes and compares and contrasts with a lot of the people that were getting canceled will wonder, why did Tim Pool always have that in that allowed him to get away, get his accounts back? I know they took out some episodes. He never had his entire channel shut down. We had 7 of them shut down. I know people that had a dozen shut down because they didn't like what they were seeing. So there's a lot of fingerprints there to somebody that is being given a pass on a lot of things and feels like they have impunity.
And after this event, I watched a little bit of Tim Pool and I paid attention to him. Besides picking up on this thing where he's always pinching his clothes when he's lying or exaggerating, he also talks about, oh, well, I'm rich, I'm this, I'm that. He's very egocentrical and just seems easy to control. Someone who is driven by money, driven by fame, and thinks so highly of himself that he even thought he could make music.
The music stuff was hilarious, dude. That was hilarious. And that's like Hollywood 101. You and I would travel similar paths. It's just like, dude, if you're a famous actor, you're just never going to be a huge musician. It's just, when was the last time that you saw the greatest actor ever also be a great musician? It's like Elvis, right? You know, it's like shitty actor, great musician, you know?
I one time found at a used record store, Captain Kirk, Melody Shatner. What's his, I don't want to call him Marlon Shatner, William Shatner. William Shatner. He was doing cover songs of 60s hits as spoken word, and it was so bad, it was awesome.
That sounds like the coolest thing ever, by the way.
It was an old album. I don't even know if you could find it, but it's William Shatner's spoken word, and I found it at a thrift store. This was when albums were still real cool to have after CDs had come out. And so we would listen to it, and it was kind of classic. It was so bad it was good. And that's kind of what Tim Pool doing music to me was like. You have a following of 1 million people on X now, on Twitter. So now you think you can publish music and actually do a decent job. And it just sounds so derivative of these other bands. I happened to what I was doing on my bag on Tim Pool research before we got on. I put in Tim Pool, the worst things about Tim Pool, and one of the things that popped up was one of his songs. And I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, which band is this he's copying?
You know, it's funny to see these guys going through the same follies of what I've seen so many go through in Hollywood. It's the exact same things happening. You know, I don't think Tim Pool could even produce a second show that'll get an audience, and which is what happens with a lot of these guys. They'll have one podcast that's working, and it's not that much of a genius idea. It's a bunch of people sitting around talking about stuff, and he's going to try to do, he thinks he could do movies now. He thinks he could do albums. He thinks he could do other shows. Guaranteed he's going to fail at everything. I've just seen the story. I'm an old fart now, man. I've seen the story play out. The story of egomaniacs that think they're celebrities, which, by the way, always ends in a very shitty way. It's like Tim Pool probably lost half his audience in the last 3 weeks, you know what I mean? So we're kind of seeing his like credibility fall apart. It's always like this, though. It's always like this. Ego gets out of hand. They think they could do all kinds of shit. And by the way, you know what's funny, man? I've gone up to Tim Pool types. I'll just say Tim Pool types, including, some of Tim Pool's people, and been like, look, dude, you guys need like network executives. Like, you guys are trying to play it like you're this big network now. Well, and I know they're monetized. He has a lot of money because it's this new media thing, and he already captured a lot of it. But to really go from this point to the next point, as opposed to going from here to here, which always happens unless you figure this out, you need like network executives, you need development people, and you need to surround yourself and build like a network. Like you and I have experienced networks in Hollywood. That's just the way it is. You need backroom creative talent, and the basics, they don't even get it because it's so much ego driven, you know what I mean? That it's like, it's me. Well, no, dude, if you're going to build something beyond, like, it has to be more than you.
Well, didn't the Daily Wire took a decent stab at it when they did the Run, Hide, the movie about the high school girl shooting? Did they also do Lady Ballers? Neither one of those were great productions as far as production value goes. But they were both interesting stories. They were both compelling, somewhat funny, and a decent watch. And it was a great attempt to try and influence the culture with something a little better. Even if it went straight to streaming, it's still, and I think they actually did have some theatrical release. But if you look at one of the biggest films in history that did the same thing, Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ, he went to churches, marketed through churches, couldn't get real distribution, and yet ended up having one of the most successful financially successful films in the history of the film industry, and then also helped bring back the epic Bible genre that we hadn't had since, Moses and Charlton Heston.
Yeah, totally. See, if they bring on talent like that, I mean, you're talking about Mel Gibson, it's, it's a tough one when it comes to movies, man. It's just so huge of a miss category, and when they hit category, you're talking about this. You know what I mean? It's like
exactly.
Gibson pulls it off. Like I almost feel comfortable giving Gibson any film, and he could pull it off. But how do you know? How do you know?
He is pretty great. My son Sam, my 10-year-old, is going to be in a movie that he's in called Coyote. They just filmed with Isai Morales and a woman named Renee Notney, a Mexican beautiful actress. So Isai plays the anti-hero. He's a former coyote guy, but he rescues the girl from the cartels who kidnapped her to sell her into sexual slavery. One of the migrants crossing the border in the caravan.
That sounds like a cool, interesting film.
Yeah, and Mel Gibson's in it too, so that's the only reason I mentioned it. But I like being somewhat close. I think the film business is cool. I think podcasting is cool. And I thought, this is the new medium. That's why I should go to reach out to Tim Pool, because he had better ratings than CNN. But like you said, his ego has created a problem. He's crashing right now. And I don't know if he'll be able to come back or not. And I don't care one way or the other. I just feel like I was waiting for this to happen to him and him losing his credibility, because I knew what a liar he was with what happened to me. You shared with me what he did in your situation, and now he goes out on a line here, either to get the $7,000 from Israel, or he's very passionate about the midterms and Candace Owens, that he's losing his mind over her. But it was really the same passion that he had against me that all of a sudden he has against her, and it just seems phony to me. That's why I was like,
it seems like you're trying to make, and this is what, funny enough, what the FBI said about my story. It's like you're trying to make something out of nothing, and Nothing Burger was actually one of the comments I heard, that like he was, Bianco was trying to make a Nothing Burger into something big so he could seem like something big, Napoleon, man, that's what I think. It's like these little Napoleon guys. I'm just saying that there's certain characters that due to their own complex have to do stuff like this, and they don't give a shit what happens to people. You know what I mean? It's like Chad Bianco, like, I'm not kidding when I say dozens of people have approached him and said, dude, what you did is like insanely wrong. And I'm talking about sheriffs, constitutional sheriffs, people that have rank on him, you know, and he'll never think, oh, what I did is wrong, and apologize. And I see that same pattern, Tim Pool, because they think that they're better. You know, I really like James O'Keefe, by the way. Doesn't have that thing about him. Like, he doesn't have to exaggerate what he does. You know, it's like being comfortable in your own skin thing. I really think that's what it is. And he doesn't ever do the National Enquirer shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like that confident personality that's confident in the work he's doing, but never has to do the salacious nonsense. Dude, you just launched a new business, huh, in the cannabis field again, or?
Yo Mama, YOOMAMA.com. So I don't have a QR code to share with anyone on here, but if they go to Yo Mama and they're interested in working with us, they can just fill out a little thing I have on there, and then we'll get back to them quickly.
What do you guys do there?
Hemp products, THCA. We ship it. Our big solution or problem that we're solving is, instead of paying $20 a gram for cannabis at the gas station, we sell it for $2 a gram. So it's a price point and a quality. We sell organic American farmers products. My company is Farm Direct LLC. We're doing business as Yo.
Nice. Synonymous. Yo Mom. Man, that sounds cool. Anything else that we should touch upon before we wrap up this episode?
Well, I really think we're living in the biblical end days, and I know that people have been saying that for 2,000 years, that Jesus is coming back anytime. But I run and I hardly run it anymore. I started a church temple called Temple 420, and we do weekly sermons. My buddy Chapin is the one who's really taken it over, and anyone's welcome to come join us, and you're welcome to just search Temple 420 on YouTube and see some of our not really sermons, but kind of more like Bible study. We do more of a we kind of like a bunch of stoners who believe in God, so we just talk.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. And you know, we got a vibe for you, Craig, man. And I mean, I've known you for a sec. You know, we know you weren't trying to cause Tim Pool harm. It sucks that he did that to you. I'm glad this story's coming out, you know, and you know, who knows, man? Candace might invite you on to tell your story.
You never know. And if Candace had me on, that would be great. And what's so funny is I kind of gave up on telling my story. And I figured, you know, when the time was right, I would do it. And so when you reached out to me after he did that to Candace, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's just exaggerating it, and he's so over the top. And I remember this happened to you. Do you want to be on the show? I was like, yeah, perfect timing. Let's do it. So I'm glad to be here with you, Vem. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Because the one thing, when someone does something horrible like that to you, and you're maligned and slandered and libeled or whatever, you feel voiceless. You really don't have the power that they have to get your voice out there and defend yourself. And you don't want to seem like a maniac going on and trying to defend yourself too hard. Otherwise, it's like Shakespeare said, do you protest too much? So you kind of have to let the time go by, the water settle, and then an opportunity like this to share my story with your audience is appreciative. And, you know, I think the question that we posed on X was, is Tim Pool a Fed? I think the circumstantial evidence leads one to believe that. Obviously, I can't prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt, but I think that there is a substantial amount of circumstantial evidence that makes me feel that leads me to believe that.
Yeah, and I would 100% agree with you, man. I believe that's a fact. And people that get away with stuff that other people don't, I mean, that's the ultimate Fed, you know, the
right.
Big red flag is when, you know, you see somebody get away with stuff that regular people don't, you know?
Well, and then he goes on and pushes the Fed slop narrative that Tyler Jones, I don't even know the guy's name, Tyler, the shooter, the executioner, that he's the lone gunman, that this was not any kind of conspiracy, that one lone guy who's never killed anyone in his life, some A student, suddenly had has the perfect weapon, leaves his DNA behind, writes this strange, weird letter to his supposed furry lover, and the whole thing's knitted up and sewn up within 33 hours, just like the Freemasons like it. And it just seems like bullshit from day one.
Yeah. I've even said I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie's actually alive. I really wouldn't. But the more I'm learning, I'm actually thinking he actually is most likely dead, which then that's scary because it would be a better world if they fake this whole thing.
I totally agree. But I also agree that I really do think he is dead. And I think that he may have been electrocuted. I think that's one of the things we talked about on the show last week is there was such a quick timing thing. And I've seen people get shocked with those tasers and they just get knocked out. And maybe they killed him once they got him in the car. I don't know. I'm no expert, but I've enjoyed watching Candace Owens shows, and I think she's sincere for sure.
This has been awesome, man. I really appreciate coming on the Blood Money podcast. Unless there's anything else, I could kind of wrap up the episode.
Stay blessed. Appreciate you having me on. Thank you for your time. And send me a link when it's all ready, and I'll share it with my people.
Awesome. Thank you, viewers, for joining us for this Blood Money podcast. Make sure you check out AmericaHappens.com, where we have all of our latest episodes posted, and I will see you all on the next episode of Blood Money. Thank you.
Over the last 30 years, we have seen the value of our work diminish and the price of real assets like land and homes increase to the point that for most people under the age of 40, the hope of owning their own home has been lost. The response of governments around the world to the 2008 global financial crisis and COVID was to defer the cost of these events to the future. They did this by printing money, in effect selling our futures to pay for their bad decisions. This is corporatism, not capitalism. Money printing didn't hurt those in power, nor those who supported them, because they had real assets, property, shares and businesses that rose in price to match the inflation of money supply. But for most of us around the world, it sold our future for a fraction of its value. In response to this, a mysterious figure known as Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin. He wanted to create a currency that could not be printed on command, thereby devaluing our labor. A currency that could be traded electronically between people without intermediation, allowing all of us to participate fairly in the economy. But if you tried to buy your groceries with Bitcoin, you'd stand at the checkout for at least 10 minutes, probably hours, waiting for the transaction to process, and the fee would cost you more than the carton of eggs and bag of apples. Bitcoin's limitations meant that it stopped being considered a currency in 2016 and was instead called a store of value. But it opened the door for someone to create a genuine currency that nobody controlled, but everyone could use. That someone is us. We created the Gajumaru blockchain and the Gaju currency. The Gaju is real money you can use, whether that is to buy a loaf of bread, pay for a haircut, buy a t-shirt, in fact buy or sell anything. It is a currency for everyday use. On Gaju Market, anyone can buy and sell any legal goods or services, just like you would on eBay, but at a fraction of the cost. Like Bitcoin, Gajus are mined on a computer. Unlike Bitcoin, mining Gajus does not require specialized equipment, nor huge power supplies. During our protected rollout, you can mine this on everyday computers, like the ones that sit in your home doing nothing for most of the day. We are working to get millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru and be rewarded with Gajus that you can then use as real money. At the end of 2026, the Gajumaru will open to public mining. By then, we will have brought together millions of people like you to mine the Gajumaru. This will create such powerful combined computing capacity across so many millions of people that the Gajumaru can remain highly decentralized, enabling an economy for the people, by the people. To make all of this possible, we offer a variety of mining packages that combine all of the software and services you need on our website, gajumining.com. The software is simple to install, and there is a step-by-step guide that will get you mining and participating quickly and easily. You can buy those packages now. You can start mining the Gajumaru and being rewarded in Gajus now. select a suitable mining package from the gajumining.com web store, install and activate the software on your device, and start mining today. This is an opportunity to be part of a movement to restore our humanity, our dignity, our sovereignty, creating a better future for everyone. For the first time in thousands of years, you will directly benefit from your work, your ideas, without being taxed by intermediaries or needing permission to be part of the global economy. We believe that capitalism is I win, you win, we all win, not I win, you lose. That's corporatism. We refuse to pursue venture funding that would demand we play the corporatist game, and chose instead to grow this movement by giving everyone the opportunity to benefit from their contribution to the movement. Just like being able to mine Bitcoin in 2008 or 2009, getting early access to mining the Gaju Mari now allows you to mine the greatest number of Gajus and benefit most from being part of this movement. We want to share that with you. We want the whole world to be part of this. We want everyone who cares about our future to get on board and take this from a movement to a reality. We want to see an economy for the people, by the people, now. Join us. Put your fingerprints on humanity's story, our history. Be a leader in the economic emancipation of humanity. It's simple. Go to gajumining.com, select the mining package that's right for you, and get started today.